A low-fat Mediterranean diet is actually contradictory advice. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why and walk you through my exact meal formula that you can use to curb your hunger while working to reverse your fatty liver disease. When I was first diagnosed, my gastroenterologist told me that I needed to follow a low-fat Mediterranean diet. But why is that a contradictory statement? Well, if you look at the macronutrient breakdown of the Mediterranean diet, that makes up anywhere from 25 to even 35% of the total daily calories. And that's a significant chunk, a lot more than I was eating even before my diagnosis when I was living on a high-carb, low-fat diet. Here's the thing most people don't realize. When doctors say low-fat, they usually mean low in saturated fat, things like cheese, cream, and red meat. The healthy, unsaturated fats like olive oil, avocados, fatty fish, and nuts are actually staples of the Mediterranean diet, and they're generally good for your liver. If you want a deeper dive into the Mediterranean diet itself, I cover that in my food section of my Fatty Liver Reversal Masterclass. I'll link it in the description. But today we're focused on something more practical, my exact meal formula built around 4 pillars: protein, fiber, healthy fats, and complex carbs. Now you might be looking at that list and thinking, okay, that sounds fine, but how do I actually put it together into a real meal that tastes good? So that's exactly what we're going to get into. Let's start with protein. Unless you've been living under a rock the past few years, you've probably noticed a massive surge in protein marketing. Chips aren't healthy, but hey, throw some protein in there and now they are, right? Keeping it real, you can ignore most of that. You don't need to be pounding muscle milk, mixing whey powder into your pancakes, or eating ultra-processed protein chips to hit your protein goals. I easily get over 100 grams of protein a day eating whole foods, and most days I only have one meal that contains meat. The reason everyone is pushing protein right now is because it's one of the most powerful tools we have for controlling hunger. Protein slows down digestion, increases fullness, and helps prevent the cravings between meals that leads to reaching for ultra-processed foods. It also helps you maintain muscle mass while losing weight, and that matters more than most people think. Muscle plays a direct role in how well your body manages blood sugar, and a better blood sugar control means less fat being stored in your liver. But protein alone won't keep you full all day, and that's where the second pillar comes in: fiber. Fiber physically fills your stomach without loading you up on calories. It also slows down how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed into your bloodstream, which helps prevent the blood sugar spikes and crashes that drive cravings. Foods like vegetables, beans, oats, and berries are loaded with fiber, and as a bonus, they tend to be far more nutrient-dense than heavily processed alternatives. Now, protein and fiber are doing a lot of heavy lifting here, but if your meals are bland, you're not going to stick with this. That's exactly what the third pillar takes care of: healthy fats. I personally get most of mine from whole food sources: nuts, olives, and avocado, rather than just pouring olive oil on everything, because eating them in their whole form also helps me feel physically full. These fats make meals satisfying and enjoyable, and research consistently links them to better metabolic and heart health outcomes. Don't focus on low or no fat. Make sure the fats you are eating are the right ones. So this brings me to the last pillar, and the one I know some of you are going to push back on: carbohydrates. Yep, I said it. I reversed my fatty liver without going keto, without cutting carbs entirely, and I do it the same way again and again. Complex carbohydrates are not the devil. Refined carbohydrates are. Things like added sugar, white flour, and especially high fructose corn syrup put a heavy burden on your liver because fructose is processed almost exclusively there, and in excess, it gets converted directly into fat. Complex carbs are a completely different story. Foods like potatoes, oats, quinoa, and brown rice digest slower, which means they give you steady energy throughout the day. And it fits perfectly into a liver-friendly diet when you're pairing them with the other 3 pillars. So now we've got the framework down. The question is, what does it actually look like on a plate? Let's create a breakfast and find out. Breakfast is honestly my favorite meal of the day. I could eat breakfast foods all day long. I've got a bowl of sprouted organic oats and chia seeds, topped with walnuts and blueberries. The oats and blueberries cover the complex carbs and fiber. The walnuts and chia seeds bring in healthy fats. And walnuts in particular are worth calling out because they're one of the few plant foods high in omega-3 fatty acids, which have been shown to support liver health specifically. Between all of that, I'm sitting at around 15 grams of protein. Solid, but not enough on its own. So here's my secret weapon, a serving of non-fat Greek yogurt. Think of it as nature's protein powder. It bumps the meal up to around 30 grams of protein, and I generally don't feel hungry again for 5 or 6 hours after eating this. Now, a few things that can quietly wreck this breakfast. The biggest one is instant oats, especially the flavored Quaker packets. Processing oats into the instant form does a lot of the carbohydrate breakdown for you ahead of time, which means your body digests them faster and you get hungrier sooner. Same problem with adding brown sugar, maple syrup, or chocolate chips on top. If you want more flavor, try a dash of cinnamon, a little cocoa powder, or some vanilla extract. You can also swap the walnuts for any other kind of nut or nut butter. Swap the oats for Ezekiel bread, or swap the blueberries for raspberries or strawberries. The framework stays the same. So now we have breakfast locked in, but what happens a few hours later when it's lunchtime? You're busy. You need something fast, right? This is where a lot of people fall apart. And honestly, this is where a lot of the diet advice falls apart too. Because you think you know what's coming here. Just have a salad, a sad bowl of wilted lettuce, a few sad tomatoes, and a drizzle of dressing that somehow leaves you hungrier than before you ate it. Every diet, every health influencer, every doctor's pamphlet. Sad salad. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to make a quinoa bowl. If you haven't cooked with quinoa yet, I want to change that today. Here's why I love this for this meal in particular. Quinoa is one of the only plant foods that is a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body can't make on its own. It's also a complex carb, and it has fiber. So before you add a single topping, this one ingredient has already covered 3 of our 4 pillars. Next, into the bowl goes some mixed veggies. My grocery store carries a frozen Fiesta blend with bell peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. But honestly, whatever you have works. Then, chickpeas, which are doing double duty here as both a fiber source and additional protein hit. Then 2 hard-boiled eggs. By this point, you're sitting at roughly 30 grams of protein for this meal as well, which is exactly where you want to be. For healthy fats, we've got half of an avocado or an avocado spread and a handful of Kalamata olives. Then finish it with either a drizzle of balsamic vinegar or a few spoonfuls of tzatziki, which makes the bowl feel like a meal instead of a punishment. A couple of practical things. First, cook a big batch of quinoa at the start of the week and keep it in the fridge. Unlike rice, quinoa keeps in the fridge up to 7 days, where rice is only like 2 or 3 before it can potentially be bad for you. The whole bowl comes together in about 5 minutes when you have the quinoa already ready for you, which makes it generally packable for work or school. Second, if you're grabbing store-bought tzatziki, flip it over and check the ingredients. A good one has Greek yogurt, cucumber, garlic, and olive oil near the top of the list. If it reads more like a chemistry experiment, leave it on the shelf. And if you want to swap the eggs out for a can of salmon or some chicken, they slide right in without changing the structure of this meal at all. Alright, lunch is over and we've hit all the 4 pillars again, so that meal is going to carry us until dinner time, which is where I think most people struggle the most. You're tired at the end of the day, and the temptation to just order something or stuff your mouth with carbs is really strong. So let me show you what a practical, satisfying dinner actually looks like. Tonight is Taco Tuesday, and we're doing taco bowls. No flour tortillas needed. I mix 93% lean ground turkey with black beans for the protein and fiber base. Spoon it over a serving of brown rice for the complex carbs, and top everything with avocado for the healthy fats. Add a side of steamed broccoli, because you need to have a veggie with every meal, right, Mom? And it gives you extra fiber. And look, I'm not going to pretend I don't want something sweet after dinner. So for dessert, I'll have a square of 85% dark chocolate and an orange. The dark chocolate gives you a small amount of healthy fat and satisfies my chocolate craving without the sugar load. The orange gives you fiber, and eating it as the whole fruit means the fiber slows down how your body absorbs the natural sugars, which matters for your liver. Here's the warning I want to leave you with on dinner specifically. This is the meal where it's easiest to quietly undo everything you did right during the day. If you had those same tacos on flour tortilla, plus rice, plus a handful of tortilla chips while you were cooking, that's 2 or 3 servings of refined carbs stacked on top of each other before you even sat down to dinner. Same goes for dessert. Processed cookies or ice cream are not the same as a piece of fruit and a square of dark chocolate. Small, natural, and intentional. That's the target here. Once I ignored the low-fat guidance and started focusing on the right fats paired with protein, fiber, and complex carbs, I started to notice a change. I was no longer hungry in between meals anymore. I wasn't craving that sweet granola bar or afternoon chips. And because of this, it became sustainable. And sustainability is exactly what helps you reverse fatty liver disease. If you want to see the full picture of how I got here, my complete fatty liver reversal masterclass is linked below.